folks, this video is about the rough electrical layout, and there's not too much profound in here. The only things that I would mention to you are to be sure to label all of your cables, and then also provide a conduit or a tube or something so you can put in additional cables later on, after you've got everything put together and you don't want to rip everything out in order to add a cable. You put a tube in there, you put a string in it, so it allows you to add extra cables. But this is a pretty short video, pretty straightforward. I'm nearly finished with laying out the rough wiring inside the van. As you recall, this is where the electrical center is going to be, and so this is where most of my wires are emanating. So this is one major congregating point for the connections, the DC fuse block and the AC breakers. And then a large bunch of cables go across the floor. Now what will happen is on this side there will be 1/2 inch of foam board insulation, and on this side of the cable bundle there will be 1/2 inch foam insulation, and then over the top of both of those is a 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch of plywood. All right, so I will organize these cables so that they fit underneath the plywood. And another major congregating point is right up here, where I will put a panel which will include lots of fuses, AC plug, a DC plug, not fuses, I meant switches and an AC plug and DC plugs. I've been using these tie wraps with adhesive. I'm not real impressed with these things. They don't hold it very well, but at least they held long enough for me to get lengths of the wire cut so that I can I can put in all of the cables. Actually, what I ended up doing with these adhesive cable ties is, first I tried hot gluing them to the side of the van, because the adhesive that came with them just wasn't going to work, especially because of that ceramic paint. The hot glue didn't even work either, because nothing is going to be absorbed into that ceramic paint. And so ultimately I ended up using some 1/2 inch self-tapping screws to fix those in place. So I'm pretty confident they'll stay there now. And then there will be a major point that goes over here, where there will be another DC plug, another AC plug, and then a switch, I think, for the water pump is where this goes. And then coming down, there's another major congregation point over here, just on the other side, where there will be a few more switches. There will be another AC plug, and there will be track lights. There will be a track light up here, there will be a track light in this corner, and there will be a track light over here over the sink and stove area. So, and then there's a line that goes up to the driver's seat. There's going to be a switch located down there, which I think will operate a remote or a electronically controlled valve on my gray water, in case I want to dump that someplace. And then I will also be putting in, I haven't yet done that, but there is a string here where I will be roughing in the DC connection to the alternator, which is going to go up under the passenger side of the dash, and then across, and then through a hole in the firewall to the engine. I've also included, for example, in this run across the floor, there is one empty hollow tube with a string for future use if I wanted to put something there. And I also have one coming from the electrical center over here to the opposite side of the van. Now most of this wiring is 12-2 DC for DC and then 12-3 for AC. There is a line that goes from the electrical center back to the microwave, and as far as AC is concerned, it's mostly a couple of there are going to be 3 AC plugs, and then the microwave are the only direct connections. As far as DC direct connections, there's going to be a direct connection which goes to the refrigerator over here, and then also to the heater, which is going to be located right here. So I think that's all I have to say about this at the moment. As I said, this is all very rough. I'm going to make this much neater using tie wraps. No, one thing that is really important is that basically this is all looks like it's on the surface because it's all going to be behind foam board. So even though it's going to be behind the foam board, I don't want big bundles, or else I won't be able to fit my foam board. So wherever possible, I tried to take advantage of the holes in the side of the van in order to route cables. So for example, here I'm using the tubing to so that I don't create abrasions on that cable and cut that cable. Same idea for this overhead cable run. Now I'll tighten this up to make sure that it's not possible for that cable to touch the side of the van. Now here's what the final rough electrical layout looks like. I want to kind of avoid putting insulation in here as long as possible because I know there are going to be changes and I'm going to have ideas about making this look a little bit better, more efficient, etc. But that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Now here's where I mounted the battery isolator for my to separate the alternator from the inverter charger and batteries, and I located that inside the engine compartment, and that red cable there goes through the firewall, goes back to my electrical box, and then the positive cable coming through the firewall will connect to the negative terminal of the battery. So I think that's pretty much it for the electrical for right now. I'll let you know how it goes.